Ashanti Commission report equating the victim to the perpetrator. The MDC notes the release into the public domain of the report of the Commission of Inquiry into the violence of 1 August 2018, which report has confirmed what we all knew, that the military shot innocent Zimbabweans on the fateful day. With respect, it was just public relations show for ZANU-PF. We reject the report in its entirety, but as sadly for Zimbabwe, we are back to square zero. The MDC is a peaceful organization which must be applauded for resisting unconstitutional means of redress despite years of suffering. Any attempt to blame the victims in the report is a clear ploy for equalization. As we've always predicted, the outcomes of the Commission are clearly bound on whitewashing the killing of unarmed innocent civilians by soldiers and creating a climate of impunity for such killings while equating the victims with the perpetrator. The Commission was compromised so it could not therefore finger completely those who stole power and let them choke in the court of public opinion without also trying to blame the MDC. Justice has not been done, the victims are turning in their graves, families have been insulted, and millions of taxpayers' money have been wasted. In the preamble of the report, the Commission recognizes that what was at stake was the direction Zimbabwe is supposed to take. It was therefore incumbent upon the Commission to outline a pathway that will take Zimbabwe out of the trap of divisions, a culture of violence which clearly dominates the national political space. The Commission also had an opportunity to contribute to national building, laying a foundation for transitional justice and setting the tone for national healing. More importantly, the Commission had the opportunity to deal with the issue of militarization of the Zimbabwean state, as well as setting a foundation for electoral sustainability as a pathway to constitutional democracy in Zimbabwe. Sadly, the recommendations and the findings of the Commission fall short of addressing the above, as a result blowing the opportunity to answer the national question once and for all. That the soldiers killed unarmed civilians to entrench Mr. Mnangagwa in power immediately after a disputed election, which we all know was won by MDC President Nelson Chamisa. We are therefore not deceived by the effort of Mr. Mnangagwa to create a sense of urgency in releasing the report. Surprisingly, the Commission locates the soldiers as responsible for the people's death on the 1st of August, yet attempts to blame the same on the MDC for organizing a demonstration and planning violence, while also falsely claiming that the protesters were armed, something that cannot be confirmed using any of the available video footage that was recorded by numerous news agencies on that particular day. The report covers up for every other top political elite in ZANU-PF, neither does it lay blame on any of the military. It seemingly places the military side blame on low-ranking officers, ignoring those who deployed and gave the orders. There is a shocking recommendation that the soldiers and the police are supposed to investigate themselves, despite the fact that the military personnel who were interviewed by the Commission denied any wrongdoing. It is more of asking the perpetrator to investigate themselves. The issue that we had at hand was the fact that no investigation has been started against any of the military personnel or any of the people who shot, despite the abundance of evidence recorded by the media houses. And the recommendation puts us back to where we were, where they are asking those who perpetrated this thing or these tragic events to essentially investigate themselves and find themselves at fault. The Commission, ironically, expects the people who have already exonerated themselves before it under oath to again investigate themselves, leading to a possible charges of perjury. These are the same people who have put themselves under oath and have said that they are clear of any wrongdoing. The report shockingly claims that the law was followed in the deployment of the army, basing their arguments on POSA when the Constitution clearly outlines how deployment must take place. Once the Commission found that the law was followed, it ought to have placed responsibility squarely on the deploying authority, in this case, Mr. Dambudzo Mnangagwa. We restate that the terms of reference were problematic in that they were judgmental and couched as a witch hunt in a way that could result in immunity for the soldiers who killed unarmed civilians in the full view of the public and international community and those who commanded them to do so. A number of the commissioners appointed had issues of potential bias and conflict of interest that our President Nelson Chamisa and his team adequately expelled before the Commission of Inquiry. They were compromised in a way that made their findings fairly predictable. This is why the Commission of Inquiry tries faint-heartedly, vaguely, suggest and broadly that campaign speeches of the MDC heightened tensions and contributed to violence. Besides the fact that the campaign period was peaceful, the MDC supporters have been recipients of gratuitous violence from both ZANU-PF and the state, as these two institutions are unfortunately conflated. The conflation of ZANU-PF and the state in the history of Zimbabwe has resulted in the unfortunate systemic and serial killing of civilians seen as opposition from immediately after independence to now. The Gukura Hund experiences in the 80s, the targeting of farmers, hundreds of farm workers in the early 2000s, Operation Muramba China that left 1.5 million people homeless, post-election violence in 2008 with widespread and systemic extrajudicial killings are some of the examples of the result of this conflation of party and state. This is also why the Commission ended up finding that the finding by the Commission that the election was free and fair, despite all evidence to the contrary, is also surprising. All the credible election observer missions have indicated that this result was unverifiable, and up to now, no one knows the exact amount of votes that Mr. Mnangagwa is said to have won by. The deliberate failure or omission to implement the Constitution is part of a process that ZANU-PF uses to reduce our electoral process into a charade that is meant to use electoral democracy as an instrument to acquire state power and place it in the hands of a small group that has conflated security, executive, and economic power to the detriment of Zimbabwe's development. In short, the report has got several contradictions. It waters down its own findings for the purposes of exonerating the ruling elite and the top echelons of power from any wrong. It simply asks the same organs, the same organizations to carry out investigations. Which organizations had failed to carry out any organizations which led to the Commission of Inquiry being set up in the first place, and to then vaguely suggest that someone else has to do that investigation. Someone else has to find out the identity of the people who shot at unarmed civilians. Someone else has to then come up with the compensation regime, the levels of compensation that are required, which is something that the Commission of Inquiry should have and could easily have done under oath. They have not done so, and the report leaves the nation squarely back where it was before the report was commissioned. And the other thing, the Commission did not even announce its own report. One of the person who is being investigated was made to announce the report. One wonders whether the report was doctored. One wonders whether there were any additions. And we had this experience during the negotiations for the government of national unity, when Patrick Chinamasa tried to add 2 paragraphs to a document that parties had appended their signatures to. How do you release a report and read it when you were primarily the target of the investigation. It is like an accused in a court of law reading his own judgment and then swearing to uphold his own sentencing and say that I will uphold the sentencing that I have received from this particular judge. It is a matter of hygiene that the commission should have read its own report so that we will then be sure of its authenticity and verify that everything that is in it has not been doctored. Up to this point, we are not sure until the commission itself verifies that the report that was read and that has been released is indeed the report that it came up with. So that is our preliminary observation. We will come up with a full statement once our appropriate organs have read the full impact of the report, if there is need to do so.
It is supposed to submit the report to the president, and it is up to the president to decide whether it goes public or not, like what happened to the previous commission reports during the Mugabe era. But now that President Emmerson Mnangagwa decided to make the commission public, why do you accuse him of why do you accuse the commission of not following its proper procedures of just announcing when it is supposed to give the president the commission?
Yes, that's a fundamental weakness. The fact that a wrong thing is legislated in a law does not make it right. We have all seen commissions all over the world. The chairpersons of those commissions release their own reports. They stand by their own reports. They answer questions in relation to the reports. Remember, these are taxpayers' funds. These are matters of life and death. We are not new to commissions. It's a global world. Where in the world does a commission report come out like this? Can you tell me? If our law is wrong, then if there was good faith, the president in changing that law would have been at a click of the finger to simply say that for this particular commission, because I am being investigated, my institutions are being investigated, it is appropriate that either that particular law is waived or the law is amended, which takes less than 24 hours to allow the commission to properly release the findings to the public so that the findings have weight and they are done about. You must remember that the excuse of law has been used to oppress even Zimbabweans. Colonialism was done based on the law. Apartheid was done based on the law. It is not an excuse to do the wrong thing simply because the law says so. It is ridiculous that if you are being investigated, you are the one who releases the report. You are the one who reads the findings of the commission. You are the one who studies the findings of the commission before anyone has seen it. It is wrong. And we will say it is wrong, and no one can convince me otherwise that it is right. That a person who is being investigated reads his own findings and reports and conclusions and then tries to implement the recommendations.
Okay, I think. Spokes, what are the chances of those who, the Constitution says that victims should be compensated, at least the state should make efforts in compensating victims. What are the chances of those victims getting compensation from the Zimbabwean government as it states?
Yes, that's what we were saying, that the Commission has placed us back to the position where we were. The Commission could easily have come up with the compensation quantums. It is not rocket science. The Commission had lawyers. It was assisted by lawyers from the Ministry of Justice. If there was compensation to be done, and if it wanted assistance as to the level of compensation that ought to be given to 7 people, it would have recommended that and said these particular individuals should get this particular type of compensation, as other commissions in the world have done when they are victims of such problems. The law is clear on how these are compensated. It is not rocket science. It doesn't take months to come up with the level of compensation. So now that they've asked this very same government that harmed these people to come up with compensation, is it going to be done? When is it going to be done? How much will be the compensation? At what rate? At what pace? Is something that is left. The commission has no enforcement mechanism. How will it know what it recommended has been done? How will it follow up? Its mandate has ended or will end during the prescribed time. And once its mandate has ended, it has no authority to speak to those things. So it ought to have done its work in finality, identified the perpetrators, asked the people who presented themselves before it to release the perpetrators who were deployed. If the deployment was lawful, then surely there are records as to who was deployed, where were they deployed, who then shot, when they returned back the guns, which ones did not have ammunition, which ones had ammunition, which ones had been used, which particular gun had been used. All these are normal procedures that are done when people are returning back firearms, either into a barrack or elsewhere. And these questions are the ones that they ought to have resolved, not to come to the conclusion that the military shot people. That is what everyone saw. That was the basis why the commission was then put in place.
In terms of the issue of ammunition, I think it is a matter of state security that public must not know what type of guns or ammunition that the military is using. So making that public that the soldiers used these types of guns and they returned this type of a certain number of bullets to a certain barrack, I think that would compromise the state security.
Are you for real? I mean, like if you seriously thought out your question. An AK-47 can be seen in a video. It is there. It was used not against a foreign national. It was used against a citizen of Zimbabwe. The 7 people who died, one was a shop owner or a vendor, one was just walking in town. Those are the people that the state has to secure. Those are the people. So when you turn guns against your own citizens, the citizens have to know, why did you shoot a woman who was closing her shop? Was that an order? What is the state security in that? Who shot that person? What authority did they get? What security did they secure by shooting their own citizens? We are the taxpayer. We are the voters. Those things are bought by monies from the state payer and the citizens. We don't buy the guns so that they can shoot us. They are bought to protect us. So if somebody uses it in a situation where you shoot your own citizens, then we ought to know. You ought to be investigated. And you ought to go through a process. And that is what even the commission has said. There's been no finding that they should not release the guns and so forth and so forth. It can't be. Because we are the people who are supposed to be protected under the Constitution by the state. And we ought to know when guns are turned against us. If you are harmed, it is the weapon of choice. It's as if you are run over by a car. Whether it's a government car, you're entitled to know the type of car, the number plate of the car, and who was driving the car. The fact that a gun has been used is just that it is the weapon of choice for that particular crime. But you ought to know that it was this particular type, the number of bullets that were used, and the bullet came, and these bullets were allocated to so and so. He either used it with authority or he used it without authority. If you used it without authority, then he must be punished. There is no state security around that. It's common cause, it happens everywhere in the world.
Okay, I think my next question will be in the context of 22 December, it's Unity Day, and it is on the compensation. If government is to compensate the six or seven people who were killed on 1 August, will it not open floodgates for the Gukurahundi victims also to demand compensation? We saw when the Commission of Inquiry went to Bulawayo, there was a lot of chaos, and even the report itself addresses some parts of the Gukurahundi issue. So maybe by answering that one, you can also answer on whether or not
everyone
we have to continue celebrating Unity Day. Are we still united?
Well, look here. Everyone who is harmed by anyone in the world is entitled to compensation. If you harm me, I am entitled to compensation article. If the government admits that it did wrong, or an individual admits that they did wrong, then they must compensate. There are no floodgates there. It is an indictment on the nation that we have united the perpetrator and the victim. It is like uniting an axe and a tree. After the axe has cut the tree, and you say there is unity, it's okay, let's move together because the past is forgotten, we have to move forward. It is bad practice, and it perpetuates impunity, and that is why things are repeating themselves, because there is no compensation when these things happen. Compensation must be given for the victims. It is said that they have been given up to now, and there cannot be total healing if you have not compensated. So there is never total unity if you are working with the person whom you have beaten up and you have not taken to hospital. We need that to be addressed, and there won't be any floodgates. There are ways of calculating the compensation, and it can be given to people, and it will be done.
What do you think would be a just compensation considering the 1 August victim? In terms of fair, what do you consider the range of the amount?
Well, we will have to look at the circumstances. There are established practices to compensate where there is loss of life, where there is injury, and so forth and so forth, and the courts can come up with the standard. It ranges depending on the circumstances. I cannot, in respect to the victims, I cannot thumb suck it from where I'm sitting. But what we are doing is we had a commission which was being paid to investigate, and they had all the resources available at their disposal, and they could have sought opinions as to the level of compensation that ought to be given to the victims of this crime.
Apologies, folks. But I have 4 questions. The first one, whether or not the party is going to have its Federal Congress. The second one, maybe you can address issues on the legal costs ordered by the Crown Court, the Constitutional Court. How far are you with that? Are you paying that? The third one is on Vice President Elias Engineer, so it is fate. And then the fourth one, is the party going to continue attending state functions?
Well, for today we are talking about the commission. I've been on record on all those 4 issues. Nothing has changed. What I've spoken about those issues still remains. But as of today, we are dealing with the commission report. If there is need for a bilateral for another day, we will speak to that. But I will emphasize that as the spokesperson of the party, I have been on record on all those issues as recently as yesterday or yesterday but one. What I have said there has not changed and will not change. But today the only new thing that we have in terms of news has been the release of the commission report, which is the sole focus of this press conference, and the gravity of this issue to the victims requires that I not meander from the script, but keep to the script in relation to what we are dealing with. Do we have any other questions related to what we are gathered here for? With that, thank you very much. Thank you for coming at short notice. Thank you.